So, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this information day that is arranged by VINNOVA and the Swedish Research Council. And we will give you some information about the ERC and the Marie Sklodowska-Curie Actions here. And also want to welcome to the listeners that are participating via the web. So we are broadcasting this presentation today. And that means that all questions from the audience that is present here in this room, you will have the possibility to ask questions after each presentation, because we have to give you a microphone. If you just ask questions here, then the people that are participating via the web will not be able to hear the questions, and we want to involve them as well. All presentation material that we will have here today will be distributed to those who are participating here today, and it will also be made available on the web at the VINNOVA homepage /H2020 ERC. The program today is that we will have a brief introduction, and that will be mainly given by myself and my colleague Anna Bermendi, and we are national contact points for the parts that are going to be presented today. And then we will have a member from the program committee, Johan Dixelius, and he will describe some parts of that work. And then we will have the first presentation that will be given by Anna Lönnroth from the ERC, and then we will have a lunch break. And that will be served just outside this room here. And then it's very important that everybody is back in this room at 1 o'clock sharp. Otherwise, the people that are participating via the web will be disappointed if we don't meet that time. And then later in the afternoon, then Camilla Partycka from the European Commission will present parts of the Marie Sklodowska-Curie Actions, mainly the ITN and the COFUND doctoral programs. And after that one, we will have some informal discussion around here, where you have a possibility to talk to all of us that are here. We will also serve some coffee about that. Now we are at VINNOVA, so just give a very brief presentation what VINNOVA is. So VINNOVA is a Swedish governmental agency, and we are working under the Ministry of Enterprise. We have an annual budget around 2,200 million crowns per year. And we have a national responsibility to serve you with information about the Horizon 2020. We are about 200 people sitting here, and we also have 3 persons that are located in Brussels. And these are people that you can take a chance to have a meeting and talk to them when you are down there. And the Director General is Charlotte Brogren. And with that, I will hand over the microphone to my colleague, Anna.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Good morning. Thank you for this short introduction. And I am the national contact point for the European Research Council. As Eric said, I'm also the national expert for the same program. And in that sense, in that task, I'm also coordinating a so-called advisory group that Johan Dixelius, my colleague, will tell you more about how these groups work towards the government. But the Swedish Research Council, the Vetenskapsrådet, it's the main funder of basic research in Sweden. We are a governmental authority, and we work within the Ministry of Education and Research. And the funds for basic research this year are approximately 5.5 billion, Swedish crowns. We're also, I mean, as Eric told you, the VINNOVA is of course coordinating the information regarding the Horizon 2020 and advice to all the applicants and intermediaries of those programs. But we have the main national expert task for 8 of these programs that are within the Horizon 2020, and we're also the main national contact point for 3 of them. If you want to know more about that, you can find that information on our website. We are a little bit less people working at Vetenskapsrådet, 160 people, but of course we have a lot of people working annually during different periods of the year with all the peer review system where we evaluate all the applications. And we have an acting director general, is Professor Sven Stavström. And I think I will give the microphone back to Eric and will tell you more about the Horizon 2020. Thanks.
There are a lot of information about Horizon 2020 available, and I don't think one single person can manage to read all this information about help. But there are a lot of help available for you out there in the system. I mean, locally we have very, very good people working at the grants offices. At the regional level, we have this Enterprise Europe network. They can give a lot of support as well. And then we have this NCP function, all these national contact points. We try to help you with a lot of stuff. If you are a small and medium-sized company, then you can get a lot of help from EU SME and from Sweden Bio. And if you don't recognize our names, so maybe you can always recognize our faces. So we are here to help you as much as we can. So how important is the EU funding? I mean, this is very important for the Swedish system. So this is an overview about the resources that are invested for research here. These are not the total budget, but there are the budgets that are available for apply for research. And actually you can see that the funding that is coming from EU is larger than the VINNOVA budget. But still the Swedish Research Council is the leading part. Sweden as participant in EU projects are really, really good. We are appreciated as participants here. And we managed to collect a lot of funding. The Swedish success rate is as high as 23% among the proposals that are submitted. If we look at the Horizon 2020, you can say it's divided up into 3 different priorities. And the information that we are going to talk about today, it's under the excellence science priority here. The other 2, there are a lot of information, but we will not present it here today. With that, I'll give it the microphone back.
Thank you. And of course, we are focusing, as Eric said today, on this first so-called pillar. Before the whole Horizon 2020 was decided, we were talking about pillars, but we're talking about priorities now. And the excellent science goal is to actually strengthen the science base of Europe by attracting the best scientists to Europe, or retaining actually the best sciences that we have in Europe. And the instruments to achieve that are the 4 instruments that you can see here. To fund, for example, the best researchers and the best ideas, that it's supposed to be achieved by the support of the European Research Council and the calls that Anna Lönnroth is going to introduce to you today. Future and emerging technologies, the way of trying to achieve best science with this program is to fund collaborative research That's collaborative groups that will, as I said there, open up new and promising fields of research and innovation. Then, of course, we have the Marie Sklodowska-Curie Actions that will provide researchers the best career developing opportunities and mobility opportunities as well. And finally, the idea is also to fund research infrastructures that will be made available to the best researchers in Europe. The two other priorities are industrial leadership, but we won't go through that today, and the societal challenges. But of course, you can find much more of this information at VINNOVA's homepage, but also the Horizon 2020 webpage. Most of you are probably already familiar with this site, the participant portal site, where all information regarding the calls is centralized. The idea is to have a system that is completely paperless, and that the applicants may be able to send their application and follow their projects if they get granted, all the way and through the grant management, but also the final reporting. You can also find information regarding the possibility to act as an expert as well if you want to get involved in the peer review system of the different programs within Horizon 2020. But there is the most important thing, in my opinion, is of course that you can as an applicant find all the relevant documentation and all the guide for applicants and information on how to proceed with your application and what would happen with your application once it's granted. There is a search engine that is very good, and it will give you the possibility to search with the topics that you are interested in with just a few keywords. And of course, this is interesting if you want to look up for some of the topics that are within the Horizon 2020. But you should be aware that, of course, this is example I think is on climate change. It would only be information on the societal challenges that it's about climate change, but you might have information on other programs as well on that topic. And with that, I will give the word to my colleague, Johan Diselius.
Thank you. Yes, I am Johan Diselius. I work at the Swedish Research Council, or Vetenskapsrådet, and I have a role as an expert. I'll come back to describe that role a little bit. Well, actually, I do it now. For the Marie Sklodowska-Curie Actions, there's a kind of Swedish organizations besides the NCPs. So I wanted to illustrate this. I think you probably meet the NCPs now and then, but there are also others. There's a group with a representative working at the Department for Education that speaks for Sweden in Brussels, if you wish. There's an expert that kind of aids the representative in its work as representing Sweden in the Marie Curie Actions. In the FP7, it was me, as I indicated. It's not quite clear. It's not been decided yet for the Horizon 2020, but it might very well be me again. There will be a secondary expert in the Horizon 2020, which we didn't have before. That it has been told me that there's a candidate, Morten Jansson, who works here at VINNOVA, who used to be NCP. We have an NCP, National Contact Point, which is Erik Littborn, or he was in the FP7, but it might very well be that he will be again. And there will be a secondary NCP working at Vetenskapsrådet, but we don't know yet who that will be. There's a similar organization for the ERC, of course, in Sweden, with a representative, with an expert that is, and NCP, that was the same person in the FP7, and there will be, I think Erik Littborn will be secondary NCP in the, he has been proposed to be in the Horizon 2020. Is there any more name there that we know? No? So again, the Horizon 2020 and a little bit of what we are going to do here today. The 3 priorities has been mentioned, and of these we are focusing today on the excellence priorities, which in itself consists, as you've heard, of 4 components: the ERC, the Sklodowska-Curie Actions, FET, and infrastructure. And we will focus then on 2 of these components, the ERC with its grants, and in the Marie Curie, there are also a number of different instruments, as you may know. And we are focusing, I think, today on the ITNs, and not so much on the individual fellowships and RISE, the staff exchange instrument. The ITN, again, is actually consists of at least 3 different versions. And both the ITNs and the individual fellowships come in 2 ways of financing, you might say, which means that you can have kind of different roles. They're both could either be funded directly by the Commission or co-funded with national funding. So as you may know, both VINNOVA and Vetenskapsrådet have applied for and got co-funding for individual fellowships. Vetenskapsrådet will have their first call on this. We call it an international career grant during 2014. But for the ITNs, it's new in the Horizon 2020 that you can get a co-funding. And the co-funding means that either a funder of financing, as Vetenskapsrådet, or even a university could apply for co-funding. So it means that the university can have kind of different roles, and I hope that Camilla Partyka will help us to clarify this. A few words about the shadow committee. During the fall, there has been a shadow committee working, and the shadow committee is it's not a formal committee, but since the Horizon 2020 had not started during the fall of 2013. But we need a work program, and basically the shadow committee works with finalizing the work program. And in contrast to the FP7, where there were different committees for the ERC, the Marie Curie, and the FET, in Horizon 2020 and in the shadow committee, it's one single committee that has been working. A few words about that work. For ERC and the Marie Curie, there were some discussions, but basically not very dramatic. It kind of was dominated by the FET, that the future and emerging technologies, that did not come from let's say the excellence milieu in the FP7, like both the ERC and the Marie Curie. There were some difficult and hard discussions on the FETs, which kind of dominated the work of the shadow committee. But eventually, I think it resulted in work programs for all parts here. The program committee, I think, will be called a configuration now in Horizon 2020. Meets in Brussels, and its main task is to work out the new work program for the coming years, and also to distribute the budget that is available for the different instruments. As I said, as an expert, you can represent Sweden in the discussions in Brussels. Therefore, you need to get feedback from the research community. I work for the Vetenskapsrådet, but in the role of expert, I represent Sweden. So therefore, I need to get feedback from where I can. I have for this work a reference group that is made up basically of people working at grants offices and of other funding agencies. But it is necessary to get to know what topics might be interesting or needed to bring up in the discussions eventually in the configuration, and so feedback is very much appreciated. And you could perhaps go via your grant office, for example, that could contact me or contact me directly. Thank you. By that, I want to give the microphone and the word to Anna Lönnroth from the ERC.